caffeine. 'Cause you can't overthink if your heart stops. Okay, let's see here. Let's see here. I'll wait for some people to join. Then I'm gonna go explain what we're gonna be doing, because it's a little silly. I've talked about it a lot before, so some people are probably familiar with it, but I'll wait till there are people in. Ba bum bum ba da. Just love this cutscene. It's such a good way to start things off. All right. Oh god, it's so weird playing Tears of the Kingdom with a delay. It's such a weird experience. It's not, yeah, I'm not gonna be doing anything that difficult, so it should be fine. Nope. Okay, I have my earbuds in the wrong one. Hold on. You need a stick. Hold on. Where's a stick I can pick up off the ground? Here we are. Let me just fix my earbud situation. Yeah, there we go. Now I've got a weapon. This is a weapon. Who needs the fucking Master Sword when you got this? Here we are. Ah, yeah. Ah, yeah. Ooh. Oh, may I can fuse this to my stick? No, it's too early for that. It's way too early for that. I was freaking holding down X like it was Xenoblade 3 to try to skip the cutscene. Oh my god. I was playing a whole lot of, what do you call it? I was playing a lot of Future Redeemed, just now. Is anyone? Yeah, still no one here. No concurrent viewers. Okay, nice, nice. I gotta wait until at least one person is here before I start, like, you know, explaining what's going on. Fly me to the moon so I can kick its fucking ass. Let me show you what I learned in my moon jujitsu class. In other words, fuck the moon. In other words, please destroy it. Fill my heart with rage and let us fight forevermore. I will really fuck you up, you stupid ass white orb. In other words, bitch, you're through. In other words, fuck the moon. La da 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 da, la da 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 da. Ah! Fly me to the ground so I can lose all three my hearts. I did not expect to die so close to this game start. In other words, fuck my life. In other words, I'm a dumbass. Fill my heart with dumb and let me make all the mistakes. I am super fucking dumb. Okay, yeah, no, that's as much as I've got. Still no viewers. All right, let's go. Let's go. Got an apple though. I don't need metrics on my silver fruit. Okay, there should be like some arrows in this, which is going to be important. Wooden stick is nice. We definitely. Yeah, I am new here. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. I don't want to talk to you. All right, this is a thing that I've always really liked. It's not really continued much throughout the game because, you know, it's not really a thing the game is designed around. But just for that one little part, they really like leaned into the classic Zelda trope of like breaking pots, right? You know, like the world's full of pots, and like even when there are, you're not hungry enough for like any specific resource that you just go around throwing pots. But I don't know, I like it. Oh, hello. Alright, yeah, no, I've got to work on the timing, because I've got to do things like just like a split second earlier than I'm used to. Did 3 more swings there than was necessary. Suboptimal gameplay. Ah! Bum, bum, bottom. Brain implosion energy, 10,000 grams of pure caffeine. 'Cause you can't overthink if your heart stops. Brain implosion energy. Crave 0 thoughts, want head empty. Then drink and drink and drink until you drop. I love my brain implosion juice. It makes my head go brrr. But will it stop the pain forever? I just can't be sure. Brain implosion energy. 10,000 grams of pure caffeine. 'Cause you can't overthink if your heart stops. I want to see if anyone, like, came in during that and then just fucking left. Alright, yeah, still no one's clicked on this. I don't know. Maybe this adds to my e-boy clout. I can just like sing a bunch of shit and then post it on Twitter and. All right. Yeah, you just gotta time it a little early. Woo! Take that, nerd. Okay, we don't want to use up. We don't want to use this up. We can't afford to use up this sword because it's gonna be necessary for something pretty soon. Because we're going to be doing the reverse shrine order for the Great Sky, for GSI, as it's called, Great Sky Island. I've really been a huge fan of doing the reverse order. Doing it normal order, going Ultra Hand, Fuse, Ascend, it's really great for tutorializing. You know, it's this like hour-long thing that you got to do, but it's very fun. It teaches you all the mechanics very well. But if you go in the reverse order, it's actually way faster, but calls on a lot of knowledge that you would have learned otherwise without teaching it to you. And so it's what speedrunners do, and it's what I like doing. I don't do it as fast as the speedrunners, but it is very much intended. There's very clearly a route that you're expected to go down by going in reverse order. And I don't know, it's really cool. I really, really like it. All right. Yeah, because like it points you right towards that, and it's the closest one, but it's actually faster to go clockwise instead of counterclockwise. God, this is easily one of the greatest, just one of the prettiest areas in the entire goddamn game. It is one of the most just everything, all of like the sight lines, no matter where you are, just lead to like a really, really great composition. I guess that's the way I'd put it, right? You know, sometimes it's, you know, a little barren, but like, oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh my God. Just the, there's these visual layers associated with all of the islands. They use the trees very carefully in order to like construct certain lines. I mean, it's awesome. All right, let's there's a Korok seed here, and I always like forget exactly how to. Yeah, there we go. So just go straight. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. I always get this Korok seed. I don't know why. It's just part of my ritual whenever I start this game to get the specific Korok seed. We're going to be getting too many Korok seeds over the course of this run because we're going to be getting every single Korok seed not on this Sky Island. This Sky Island is the only thing that's sort of exempt from our survey, I guess you could call it. Since it's obvious no one's going to be watching this stream, I might as well just explain it right now. What we're doing, what I'm going to be doing over the course of a lot of streams is going over every single nook and cranny of Tears of the Kingdom. Ah! Hold on, you interrupted my exposition. You interrupted my exposition! Justice was served. Yay! But as I was saying, we're going to be going through every tower region of Tears of the Kingdom, going over every Korok seed, every enemy camp, the space in between, the way that, you know, every aspect of the, you know, every experience is used in order to create these different areas of the overworld that are these, like, playgrounds that you can play in, and just... what's the best at being fun? Like, you know, what has the best depths? What has the best Sky Islands? What has the best shrines? What does the best job of using the overworld to connect everything? We'll ask a bunch of questions like that, and we're going to take all of these different categories and then rank all of the different tower regions. There's 15 in total. The Great Sky Island is kind of exempt since it's sort of categorically different from every other area of the game. You know, it's kind of like got a foot in all of the different, in a bunch of different tower regions, but it's also like not part of them. You know, it's something that you're supposed to fully explore before you go into those regions, and you get the map without having to have gotten the map for those regions. So it's just out of the running. It's not like it's not like the Great Plateau, where it's like, you know, it is categorically the same as, you know, all the other things. It's just small because it's a tutorial area. This is a categorically different region. The first area, I was tempted to make. I'm still deciding. I like. There's a temptation to make it Northern Hyrule Field, but I feel like there's enough going on there that, you know, I think I'm actually going to be starting with the Hyrule Ridge area. I've done a practice run of this, so I already know a lot about what goes on in Hyrule Ridge. In Tears of the Kingdom, I've collected all of the Korok seeds there before. I am going to need a reminder. I do have something pulled up. But yeah, I like I do have a bit of an order in mind. You know, the order being let's see. Like we would go Hyrule Ridge, then Tabantha Snowfield, then Heber Mountains, and then the Great Hyrule Forest, and then I'm not really sure where we would go from there. I think we might go to Hyrule Field after that. I don't know. We might like start doing like you know, Eldin, Akala, Lineru. Oh, we'll figure it out from there. But I've already explored a lot of those first 4 regions. Anyways. 750 should be enough, or 730 should be enough for us to just get through the entire snowy area. And let's just grab some stuff to be safe. Yeah, alright, so... oh, wait, we got a viewer on Twitch! Oh my god, we've got a viewer on Twitch! Hello! Hello, whoever is watching. It is so good to see you. It's so good to not be alone here. So as you can see, my fellow viewer on Twitch, I say that as if I am a viewer on Twitch. What we're going to be doing is, so we're going to be playing through Tears of the Kingdom, and it's going to be kind of a 100% run. We're not 100%ing it like, as a matter of, like, completionism. We're doing it to get absolute knowledge. So we're not just going through all of the different, like, all the different Korok seeds so that we have all the Korok seeds. We're going through them so that we understand how each Korok seed puzzle plays, and we can, like, you know, like, decide which ones are the best ones, and which region has the best Korok seed puzzles, and which one has the best shrines, and, like, which one has the best placement of enemy camps for maximum fun value, and which one, you know, handles its depths the best. And we're going to be doing all of that together in order to get, like, something of, like a general idea of which ones are best. We're going to be making a tier list. And that's what we're going to be doing. Yeah. Stop. Right now, we're just doing the Great Sky Island as a bit of a warm-up. One of the reasons that I want to do that is just so that I can, like, have some time to, you know, explain what we're doing. And, you know, like, there's too much time, but in addition to just wanting to explain the basic premise of what we're doing, I also want to explain my complex feelings about the most recent Chainsaw Man chapter. So I don't know who is watching right now. There is exactly one person watching right now. About to that one person, if you haven't been on one of my streams before, one of the big things that I do is I read a lot of manga, I watch a lot of anime, and I like to scream about them. I like to scream about them and how they ruin my life. One of the most recent things I've been reading is Chainsaw Man. I would recommend leaving if you don't want spoilers, because I am going to be screaming about it. But Chainsaw Man is... We've been going through a very, very interesting arc in Chainsaw Man. So, the basic plot of Chainsaw Man Part 2, you know, it started from the point of view of Asa. Asa being this new protagonist, and she's sort of this victim of circumstance. She got half possessed by the War Devil, who is this devil who wants to kill Chainsaw Man, or I guess, like, defeat him and, like, utilize him in some specific way. And she's sort of being guided around by this devil. She calls the devil Yoru, and her and Yoru are just, you know, they're kind of like a quirky comedy duo, but she's like, okay, like, I'm only possessing your body because you can help me blend into society, and that way I can kill Chainsaw Man! And all the while, Asa is having this very quirky, like, loser-themed romance with Denji, who is the, civilian persona of Chainsaw Man. But then, you know, things kind of go wrong with him due to things that aren't really either their fault. And, like, she thinks that he hates him now, and, like, he's not talking to her anymore. But then, she falls in love with Chainsaw Man. And then we got to a point where it's like, there's this, woman, the Famine Devil, and she's kind of the, so she's the sister of the War Devil, and, she's sort of like, kind of an antagonist of this arc. She is responsible for basically all of the bad things that have been happening, but it's like all of her underlings that have been doing it, and meanwhile, she's just been having, like, very casual conversations with Asa. And it's unclear how much of everything that's been happening has been exactly what she's been wanting, though, like, she probably wants most of the bad stuff that's been happening to have been happening. Right now, there's kind of like these two groups. There's the Chainsaw Man Church, there's the Public Safety Bureau, both of whom want to use Chainsaw Man for their own purposes. Asa is kind of in league with the Chainsaw Man Church, which is being run by the Famine Devil. Anyways, we're in this thing where, like, Denji got, like, kidnapped and cut into pieces and, like, stored in a meat locker by the Public Safety Bureau, and then Asa and the Famine Devil just broke him out. And now they're doing a thing where, like, they kind of want to work together to get his Chainsaw Man powers out of him so that he can live a normal life. And also wants to do that because she loves him very much and she wants to help him. And Famine wants to do that because she, well, it's part of her evil machinations, right? And so they, and in order to do this, her and Chainsaw Man need to fight. So, like, that's kind of like Yoru getting her way of finally getting to fight Chainsaw Man. But, you know, it's complicated because, you know, Denji's like, I'm not fighting fucking anyone until I find my little sister, Nayuta, who's actually the control devil, because, you know, because that's, like, Conquest, it's all 4 horsemen. But it's like, she is... So she's like his little sister, and like it's kind of implied that she might have died at the hand of this guy named Baron Bridge. And she, God, yeah, Nayuta. Oh God, Nayuta. Everyone really likes Nayuta. She's this like little girl, and she's like kind of maniacal and like probably evil, but it's like also she is just like sort of a kid, and Denji cares about her, and we all care about her, and like there's like good inside of her, and she cares about her big brother Denji. And he's like, I am not going to fucking, I'm not going anywhere or fighting anyone until we find Nayuta. And so, but then he's like, oh, fuck, I'm really, like, I can't even, like, continue this search. I'm too hungry. I can't focus. So they're like, all right, let's take you somewhere to eat. Then on the way to get him somewhere to eat, you know, Katana Man, that bastard, is like, okay, what if instead we take you to a brothel? That's probably what you need. You're probably not hungry. You're probably pent up. They go to the brothel. It was burned down in the most recent devil attack, which is also where Nayuta might have died. And it was all Baron Bridge's fault. Yeah, you know. And so then he goes on this speech about like how he's super fucking upset that, you know, he always like makes decisions with his cock, and you know, he hates just like having his dick rule all of his emotions. And so Yoru is like, want me to cut it off for you? And he's like, what the fuck? But he goes into the back alleyway, and instead of cutting it off, she gets lost in the heat of the moment and gives him a hand job. And Denji is just kind of like sitting there in this post-nut like haze, just completely like, did I enjoy that? Did I hate it? I'm not sure. I don't know where my little sister is. I'm fucking completely out of it. And it's just like, he's so depressed, he's so confused, he's so not in a good place. And they finally go to a sushi restaurant where Baron Bridge shows up, right? And Denji is like, so he is like on-sighting this motherfucker, right? He goes in, and he's like about to stab this guy with goddamn chopsticks, not even gonna transform, just like literally on sight, zero hesitation. He just sees the guy, slams his fist on the table, stands up, and goes to like make an actual attack. Baron Bridge manages to stop him by being like, I know where Nayuta is, and I can take you to her if you do what I say. Denji is playing ball for now. At least he was. Until this chapter. So the setup, Baron explains that public safety is outside, but you know, he's like, hey, don't just go out and kill all the public safety guys. Come on, let's be reasonable about this. Denji, we want to unleash your true Chainsaw Man powers, because like Denji's got like the real Chainsaw Man inside of him giving him powers, but like that Chainsaw Man, it's kind of like a separate entity, but it's like living with him to keep him alive. And, you know, Baron's like, okay, well, Denji, both me and public safety want Chainsaw Man's power, and so we want to unleash it. In order to do that, we need two things. The first is for everyone to be afraid of you, and the second is for you to be unhappy. And he had just gotten done feeding Denji a bunch of sushi. And then and then he's like, I'm not letting you leave until you finish your meal. And the main course is just arriving. And you hear people scream in terror at what is coming down the sushi belt. Until you eventually see Nayuta's head on a plate! And that's where we fucking end it. I am... Oh, God, there were people who fucking came in. There were people who genuinely came in and just... Whatever. There were people who came in on the YouTube chat, but they're gone now. Luckily, I still have my, my brave one viewer on Twitch chat, who I'm still not convinced is actually real, because I had the exact same thing last stream, and I'm almost wondering if it's just like a bot that, like, naturally comes into these things. But you know what? You're my bot, and I love you so much. And let's get into these pants. Let's get nice and cozy. So I'm just emotionally processing this, right? Because it's so much of setup that makes you think a certain thing is going to happen. Like, they say, oh, Denji is going to fight. You know, like the fucking, like, oh yeah, like we know what's about to happen. Denji is going to fight Yoru to try and get, you know, his Chainsaw Man power out. That's what they're going to do next. Everyone's talking about how that's what they're going to do next. That's what everyone, you know, is planning on doing. It's being set up. It's been set up for a while. Then this guy shows up and is like, hey, Denji, public safety is outside. And we're like, okay, well, we kind of expect this to eventually descend into an all-out brawl while public safety is happening. So we expect that to happen, but, you know, it's another wrench in the plan. And then it's like, by the way, both us and public safety have the same goal, which is to make you miserable. Also, here's a dead Nayuta. And so now, Denji, I'm not even sure he wants to cooperate with everyone else, and it kind of makes me think that, you know, Fami and the Chainsaw Man Church aren't actually trying to do what she told Yoru their plan was. I mean, it told Asa that their plan was to, like, free the original Chainsaw Man. And it's like, what is even happening? And I'm just so goddamn confused, and I'm absolutely loving it. And, like, I bet it's going to, like, make perfect sense by the end of it, but it's just, oh, it's such peak fix. So, Nayuta's dead. And that is... So Denji's about to go apeshit. And so they're mentioning, like, okay, Denji is going to go apeshit, and there's people who want people to be afraid of Chainsaw Man, and so that's going to make him afraid of Chainsaw Man, and it's probably going to make people hate Chainsaw Man, and that might just make Denji even more miserable. Though he did say he's never going to turn into Chainsaw Man, although he basically, like, agreed to if it meant he could see Nayuta. He's probably going to go into Chainsaw Man just to try and kill Barum. I can imagine that. That's going to be really, really goddamn rough. Let's see. Anyone? Yeah, still no views on YouTube. I'm convinced no one is watching right now. That was absolutely goddamn wild. Like, I'm not even sure how to... Like, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't even know what's going to happen after this. It is... Like, I was, like, full of theories earlier, but now it's just... I mean, Jesus, like, what's happening to Denji here? And it makes you, like, wonder, like, what's going to happen to Asa, because... I mean, I guess Asa doesn't remember Nayuta, but she does know how important Nayuta was to Denji, because that's, like, an interesting thing about Nayuta and Asa. Because one of the big moments with Asa and Denji in their romantic arc involved Nayuta indirectly. Because she saw him ripping off homeless people by selling them, like, bad, low-quality cigarettes made from, like, rolled-up ashes or whatever. And she's like, oh, wow, he's just a piece of shit who'll do anything for money. And then, you know, in the aquarium arc, she asks him, like, why are you so obsessed with money? And he says, well, you know, I'm trying to pay for my little sister to go to college. And she was just like, oh. Like, she just makes, like, a facial expression at it. But, like, it so amazingly conveys that she's like, oh, crap, this guy's not a bad person, and he might actually be a good one. What the fuck, right? And so that moment greatly changed her opinion of Denji, who is a person who she fell in love with twice, right? And she knows how important he is to her, and she is at least somewhat invested in the fact that he cares about her, right? It just makes you like, wonder, like, what the fuck, man? Like, what's... Okay, so it's the right one that affects... It's the motion control, the right thing that affects aiming. Gotcha. Okay. I've never played Tears of the Kingdom. I never played it docked before. This is good. This is good shit, though. This is good shit. A little sad. I think this is the first stream where I think literally no one has been watching. I know, which is to be expected, you know, to happen at some point. It is, yeah, no, it's live on YouTube. People should be able to see it. But I'm really excited to start this project with Tears of the Kingdom. Oh yeah, no, I gotta start that sooner. You know, I haven't realized till now that, you know, when it comes to controlling my Switch's gyro, I typically lead with my left hand. So I'm not actually used to use it. I instinctively, like, move my left hand, not my right, when moving this. So it is actually pretty interesting playing it in a non-docked form. Because I absolutely use the gyroscope to aim. I am that bitch, right? I feel like everyone's that bitch. It's just so goddamn convenient. But I mean, I'm going to not just have to get used to the delay, but get used to playing it like this. It's going to be important. So that's 2 down. We've got we've got 2 more shrines to go before we're done with Great Sky Island, and we can finally begin the process of surveying Hyrule in earnest. It's gonna be exciting. So when we're talking about surveying Hyrule, right? You know, there's gonna be like there's kind of 6 different categories that you can kind of separate the game into. You have the overworld. So, like, what's it like to explore the overworld, go to all the Korok Seas, go to all the enemy camps, that kind of thing, right? How is it to explore? How is it to do all of the challenges in it? Where's my health at? Okay, that's good. Right, yeah, I just reset. Then there is the same thing for the Sky Islands and the depths. Then there is the quality of the shrines. There is the quality of the, like, questing, I guess you could call it. So that would include both, you know, major story quests as well as all of the side questing content. And then there's the caves, right? Which are kind of like another, which are kind of like the 4th layer of the world. And so you're looking at the quality of all of those things individually, but you're also looking at the quality of how they all work in harmony. So... You know, does the overworld naturally lead you to important cave systems? Is there interplay between, you know, the Sky Island and the depths in any kind of interesting way? How do the quests encourage you to discover new areas of the world? So, you know, like, there could be a quest that's, like, pretty simple, but because it encourages you to go to a place you otherwise wouldn't explore, that has a lot of effort put into it, like, that is something that would be really, really cool about the questing. You know, how does the shrine teach you things about the area around it and, like, help you see things in a new way? Does the cave leading into the shrine make, like, for, like, a proper, like, build-up, like, that kind of thing? Great Sky Island, you know, it doesn't really have a lot of this. It has only a couple of caves, and it is mostly just, well, a Sky Island. It's got some shrines, but shrines don't tend to interact with everything else. And that's, like, a thing that I think is, like, really, really great about the different tower regions, because they aren't just these static little, like, playgrounds to play in. They are complicated webs of interactions between different areas and different components of the story. like different of the story, different components of the gameplay. Questing, combat, Korok Siege shrines, the process of climbing and whatnot. They all interplay in these very complicated ways. And like the Sky Island's got like interplay between aspects too. Like I don't know what I'm fucking saying, but it's. I tried to use the paraglider there. Oh, fucking emus. Fuck you. It's funny that these don't exist anywhere else. It's just on the Great Sky Island. That's a thing that I think a lot of people are very disappointed when it came to Tears of the Kingdom, and I can understand why. After the Great Sky Island, there's nothing really quite like it. There are some things. There's the Thunderhead Islands, but those are more of a linear straight shot. They're less of a, there's a difference between something that's meant to build up to a dungeon and something which is like an exploration area like the Great Sky Island. I mean, like the Great Sky Island is linear in its own right, but it's like a circular kind of linear, right? So it's easy to see it as like, more of a free roam area, and it does a lot more to encourage experimentation and exploration. I think a lot of people are like, okay, well, we've explored these 15 areas. We want to explore new ones. And when the new content wasn't, well, like when it wasn't just new areas to explore, when it wasn't just more Breath of the Wild, I think a lot of people got a little bit disappointed. But, well, I'm not saying I would necessarily complain about a Sky Island that was this cool new area to explore. I do kind of understand why they did it the way they did it, that they did. Ultimately, the most interesting thing about the Sky Islands is the space between them. This is another reason why it's actually kind of important that there aren't too many of them, right? If it was just this big, constantly interconnected, like every Sky Island was next to another Sky Island, it would create a very, very different relationship between the world, the overworld, and the sky. That relationship just wouldn't, the one that they have in this game just wouldn't exist. And also, like going from one Sky Island to another is itself kind of a puzzle, and that's like one of the big reasons the Zonai devices are there. It's one of the big reasons that, like, it's one of the big reasons that they're so interesting, because they do kind of have this puzzle aspect to them. Oh god, I got like some sort of like nasal runoff. Blah. How's we had another viewer on YouTube for a second, but they also clicked off almost immediately. Woohoo! But as I was saying, one of the things that is just absolutely, what was I saying? What was as I was saying? God damn it. Okay. Oh my god, my brain is just ADHD focus, ADHD focus. Yeah, it's Disability Awareness Month. I need to channel my autism. I need to power up my autism. Hyperfocus! Okay. Let's see here. My brain is mush. No! No! Autism went out over the ADHD. I'm begging you. I need to gush about this game. I was... what was I fucking talking about? I think I was talking about... Yeah, oh, the Sky Islands! Right! Oh, yeah! So... Okay, I really thought that might have worked. So, you have like these Sky Islands, and it's just you have like kind of in a West Neclida, right? You have the Kakariko Tower, and that thing gives you really, really good access to 2 different sky archipelagos. And you kind of got to decide which one you go to, and both of those, have meaningful distance between, like one of them in particular, you have to like be flying like a thing you make yourself between the different islands and take things from one thing to another. But there is this third thing in the exact same tower region, the Zonite Forge Island. And that is, and the Zonite Forge Island, like one of the things that's very, very interesting about it is that it is not particularly easily accessible. There is no tower that just leads straight to it. You have to come up with your own inventive way of getting up there, and it often involves, like, building a big-ass machine, having a lot of Zonite batteries, and then just YOLOing it over there as... And, you know, it's like a thing that you did yourself. It's a thing that you didn't get handed to you. And the fact that there was this distance, that there was nothing really around it immediately, and that there are things only a big distance away, that is a big aspect of why it worked. There's also a visual aspect to this. You know, the sight lines. When you look down from a sky island, you don't want to be looking down on a bunch of other sky islands. You want to be looking down on the overworld. Now, that's not the case with the Great Sky Island. You want to be looking at the Great Sky Island, because the Great Sky Island is the, you know, the big area that you're meant to be exploring. It's supposed to be the thing capturing your imagination. Maybe you'll look down and be like, ooh, what's over there? But it's not like, you know, they only want you to focus on it as much as you want to focus on the horizon while you're on the Great Plateau, as a means of, like, making you wonder what's down there. Except, like, even less so, because back in Breath of the Wild, we didn't know what was out there. It was a thing that we had to explore and find out. A big expectation with Tears of the Kingdom is that you already know, right? And so what they want to do is they want to show you a new angle. And when you're in the sky and you're looking down, it is this really crazy thing. And, you know, if they were more bunched together, if there was a higher density of them, a lot of that would be ruined. Now, like, obviously, they probably could have created more. But they also, like, didn't want to ruin the, you know, what the sky looked like when you're on the ground, which I kind of get. I personally am really, really happy with the amount of Sky Island content that we got. I probably wouldn't have, like, you know, wagged my finger at there being more, but I don't think it's like there isn't enough or anything like that. I'm super, super goddamn happy with the amount of hashtag Sky Island content that we got our hands on. All right, 3 down, 1 to go. I genuinely do think, though, that the depths are the star of Tears of the Kingdom. A lot of people are kind of down on the depths, you know, because it is, I think, there is so much, I don't want to say repetition, but homogeneity is probably a better word. Every part of the depths is very similar to every other part in a way that just isn't true about the overworld. And obviously, it would have been better if they just completely designed environments from the ground up and made everything very, very visually distinct. But, I mean, obviously, you know, there were time constraints. So much of it went into the system. So much of, like, the time and energy went into, like, you know, the Zonai devices and stuff like that. But I think that if they were going to have limited resources to work with, what they tried doing was genuinely one of the smartest ways that they could have played it. So, you know, so what they did, they basically took the height map, you know, the topography of the overworld, and inverted the axes. They inverted just the y-axis, right? And so, you know, they made a bunch of parallels, like everywhere there's a shrine, there's also a light route, but they made it so, you know, everything, they didn't need to completely recreate the topography, but everything was kind of new. Where there was once a mountain, there is now a ravine. And because you make mountains different than you would make ravines in the overworld, the ravines in the depths are not like any ravine in the overworld, and the mountains in the depth are not like any of the mountains in the overworld. And so there is this very different sense. But one of the reasons that kind of like the low visibility and stuff works, one of the reasons that it's not... All right, no. One of the reasons that I don't think it's that big of an issue that everything is very homogeneous is that it's not about going, ooh, look what's over there, let me explore. Wow, look at how beautiful it is. The depths are very much about this feeling of being in danger. It's about this intense darkness overlaying everything. It is not about what you see. It is very specifically about the stuff that you don't see, right? And it's not about appreciating all of like the tiny details. The point of the different terrain is to be challenges for pathfinding. The point is that it is interesting, is not that it's interesting to look at, but that it is interesting to move across. And it very much is. Every aspect of the depth, every area of the depths looks very similar, uses a lot of the same assets, but ultimately, you're not like repeating the same thing. You're not solving the same puzzle over and over again. When you go and look and see like, oh crap, there's a huge puddle of gloom and I can't really see where it starts and where it ends, but I really need to get to the other side without losing hearts. Oh, I guess I'll illuminate some bright bloom seeds over there. I'll do some over there. The answer of like, how do I get across this? What parts do I dash across and take the risk on? It's going to be different for every single puddle of gloom you go across. And so you have to do that calculation over and over and over and over again. And each time it's very, very engaging. That is the depths. That's why the depths work. They chose a type of gameplay that was like amenable to that level of repetition. You know what I mean? Right? You know, that level of homogeneity was fine within the context of this gameplay style. And that's so smart, right? They took this really, you know, they're like, okay, well, we can just, we can make this really, really huge area, but we're not going to be able to make it as visually interesting as, you know, the overworld of Breath of the Wild that we're reusing. Well, let's make it a place where it doesn't need to be that original, where it doesn't need to have all of that variety. Let's give it that kind of gameplay style. Shroud everything in, you know, shroud everything in darkness. And make it all about, you know, slowly lighting it up and feeling this incredibly oppressive aura of everywhere you go. And one of the things I like is that most regions have something interesting going on in the depths. They do something interesting with it, or they have some unique elements that aren't just, you know, reflections of the world above them, right? They'll have some of the arenas, or you have that special thing at, not Ebon Pond, Mount Tufts, right? They have that kind of like Lover's Pond thing with the two poes, the observation deck, I believe. But that's really, really interesting. And then, you know, you have stuff like the Wrist Peninsula has the Wrist Spine, which has like, you know, redoes the little spiral thing, and you know, there's all this interesting stuff going on that they do. Oh my god, And so we're going to be really, really interesting to go through all of the different depths and be like, okay, well, which ones do they do a good job with? What are the areas that have really, really fun Yiga areas? Because the Yiga areas vary greatly in how, like, in their quality, right? Like, some of these Yiga areas are just, I mean, some of them are just so lame, while some of them are just so goddamn interesting. You know, ones like the one where you, where there's like sort of a maze, and then there's like guys in those little like cars with the headlamps circling around the maze, right? Like that. I mean that was fun, right? But then there's stuff where it's just like some guys and they're kind of like hanging around, and you kill one, and then it opens up the thing. It's like, you know, right? Ooh, we're at the final shrine. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Then I can start nerding out over specifics rather than the general stuff. Woo! One thing I really, really like, okay, well, one thing that kind of does bother me about Tears of the Kingdom, and this is such a weird thing, but one of my favorite things in Breath of the Wild was the horseback combat, right? It was something that was very, very, very well handled. But in Tears of the Kingdom, it's... I mean, it's still good. It's the same horseback combat, but you don't get to do it very often. In the Faron region, specifically the Lake Tower region, in Breath of the Wild, there was a very big emphasis on that specific region having a lot to do with the horses and with the horseback combat. And there were several areas, I believe, that just had 6 or so, like, big, well, not big, but like just this group of like 6 or so bokoblins on, you know, the of 6 or so bokoblins who are, you know, on horseback, and you just get to fight them. And it's like, I think the most Tears of the Kingdom does is like 2, and like there's maybe like 4 or 5 total areas where you fight any, and like some of them you don't even have access to a horse. And it's so weird that like this amazing aspect of Breath of the Wild is so absent from Tears of the Kingdom. I think it's, I mean, I think it's a little bit silly, frankly. I think it's a little bit silly. Yo, one person watching on Twitch, can you give me a shout out if you're real? I don't think they are. I think I am genuinely just alone right now. Well, who knows? Maybe get a raid or something. Let me reblog this, or reblog. Let me repost this on Twitter. Just in case it gets people to show up. I'm pathetic. All right. I've got like at some point in that I must have hit at some point in that I probably must have hit the 1 key. That is what makes me smile like that. I need to move it to a different thing. While I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh, that was a huge goddamn problem because you have to input life point totals into Dueling Book in order to increase or decrease them. And so I kept changing my facial expression without realizing, because I was looking at a Dueling Book instead of instead of an OBS. So there were long stretches of time where I was just in full like eyes closed smiley face. The delay's killing me here. But oh my god, I'm so ready. I'm almost done. And we get to actually start surveying Hyrule. Woo! Oh. So I'm gonna be honest, I'm a really big fan of you know, there's a lot of people who say that, you know, Tears of the Kingdom lost a lot of the magic the Breath of the Wild had, and that it's like the trip off of the Great Sky Island is not like as magical as the trip off of the Great Plateau, and I am inclined to disagree. I am inclined to disagree. It is right, because the thing off of the, you know, the thing about Breath of the Wild is that it lost a lot of the identity of a Zelda game. Right, you know, a Zelda game has a lot of different play styles, but it's slowly built up this series of ideas, signifiers, tones, and recurring concepts that grant it a bit of an identity, right? You know, there's a lot of repeating tropes that, when organized in unison, regardless of gameplay style, create a Zelda-esque feeling. You know, like Zelda joining you in the final battle, or you know, you know, you beat a bunch of dungeons, then the world changes, then you beat a bunch of other ones, and like that. Or, you know, starting out in a quaint hometown. You know, and these aren't ubiquitous, right? But there is a whole bunch of them that have been established by a wide variety of games, which spin-off games made by B teams into, you know, outside developers like Capcom you know, incorporate in order to create a Zelda-esque experience for when they are brought on to make a game, right? And Breath of the Wild is a game, you know, you have a game like Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword. They're made by the main team, and these tend to be the trendsetters who create ideas that the B teams then, you know, then ape off of. But you have even stuff like Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, Wind Waker. There is a very, very big emphasis on like staying true to what came before and like incorporating a bunch of elements. And Breath of the Wild incorporated a lot of elements, but not in a way that achieved the same emotional effect as they did in previous games. And Tears of the Kingdom does try to kind of change that. It is trying to be a Breath of the Wild game that evokes a lot of the same adventurous emotions as non-Breath of the Wild Zelda games and kind of like bring everything full circle, right? Its story, for example, follows a lot of the same beats as something like Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword. It's a lot, you know, it's, you know, like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was not about Link, it was about Zelda, which is weird for a Zelda game, despite the title. Link was important, but when you went into all of those cutscenes, it wasn't about him. Even though he isn't in the memories are still about him. It is about his journey, about how it is his destiny to save everyone. It is about, you know, the creation of the Master Sword as we will soon know it. It is about, you know, it's like Ganondorf talks to Link. He's like, oh, so this is the Link that I've heard so much about, right? Because he heard about the great swordsman who would eventually fight him. And it's all about building up this heroic ethos that was kind of missing from Breath of the Wild. And all of that is to say that I really, really love the start, what happens immediately after you jump off, because it is very, very appropriate for that fantasy, right? The fact that you jump off without the paraglider, the fact that, you know, it's plopping you right into like Hyrule Fields specifically, rather like the middle of it, right? Like a real like Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess feeling entry into Hyrule Field, rather than, you know, the kind of thing Breath of the Wild did, where you kind of expect to go through those ruins to get to Neclida, right? That's not what it does. And, you know, then you go right over to, you know, Outpost, you know, the Lookout Landing, right? I almost said Outpost Landing. And you're sitting there and it's like, oh, like everyone's talking about you and about how, oh my God, Link, you've been gone for so long. It's Link, he's gonna save us, woo, right? And it starts to build up this, you know, whole ethos and this feeling of slowly walking over there, you know, asserting your will on the, you know, the world around you and demonstrating that you are that bitch, right? Seeing yourself slowly descend into the Hyrule you're about to save, all of it just works so well on an emotional level. And so, yeah, like, I actually do think that, you know, like, obviously it's not the same thing as, you know, the Breath of the Wild one, but it is trying to accomplish something different. And we're about to go down. And I want to just see, just in case, there was another person who started watching for a split second. Or for about 30 seconds before leaving. Woo! Every time I check, there's no one there. Well, one Twitch viewer who probably doesn't exist. Let's go. Down. Into Hyrule. Let's go. Oh, it's so good, man. It's so good. Ah! And right into the bottomless pond. Sploosh! Okay. So, one thing that I like, and they were very careful about how they placed the Great Sky Island, right? Because it gives you a very specific place to be the closest shore. And then you're immediately staring at Hyrule Castle. And, you know, you see Lookout Landing in the distance. It's a very obvious landmark. You start walking towards it, right? So I want to think about travel lines, right? There is a very specific point A and a very specific point B here. So the question is, what do they, what point A and point B do they choose to, you know, create the line to guide you through a specific set of terrain, right? And what do they put along the way? So right now I'm going through point A and point B. I think it's very interesting that there is this body of water here that kind of guides me to veer right and make sure that I'm looking, or like right at Lookout Landing. This is, in general, I think a very well thought out area. And so there is actually kind of two options that the game could be going with here, right? On one hand, it could ask us to go through down this way, right? And that is going to take us to Lon Ranch. It's going to take us to a cave. It's going to take us to a boss Bokoblin camp. It's going to take us to a good number of fairly interesting things. And I have done that on my own playthroughs, and it's basically the place I always go to. But the other option that it provides you is to go down this road. And I want to see what happens if you go down this road, because this is another line that it provides you with, a very obvious place that a lot of players might choose to go. And I want to see what they put alongside this road. So let's figure it out. Well, so far they're not putting very much of anything. But, we'll have to see. I'm going to look either way. It's interesting. Okay, this road's kind of like right next to this, so we don't really have much to look at over that way. Nothing to distract us and pull us further away from Lookout Landing, which I think is interesting. We got some spicy peppers here. All right, well, I'm just going. I'm schmooving down. And oh, what's this? Saving. It brings us right to this camp. Oh, what a classic Bokoblin camp design. Do you guys remember that one next to the river, right? Like right above the forest in the Great Plateau? Ah, that was such a... God, there's so many specific memories with that, like, particular Bokoblin camp. Though this one we don't have to fire down, you know, cut down any ropes to lower the bridge. And no, this is absolutely a different design. It just looked kind of similar. So, you know, it's a pretty simple one, but it does introduce us. No. This guy's also a red. So 2 red Bokoblins. 3 red Bokoblins. Okay, so this is about as easy as a camp gets, right? And that brings us to, what kind of loot did they give us? Because this is interesting, because this is a place that everyone's going to be going to at a very specific time. Opal. That's interesting. So that's a way of potentially getting money? Okay. It's a choice. We got Bokobos, we get some rusty weapons that are quick to break. Let's drop some stuff. We don't need the rusty stuff. The rusty stuff is low quality. All right. So that's cool. And then we're encouraged to continue along this road. Nothing else was immediately in the vicinity that caught your attention. It is just a thing by the road. I mean, that makes sense from a level design perspective. We're just trying to guide us to Lookout Landing. So it could potentially encourage you to try going down that road, because that is another obvious line. But for now, I think I'm just going to be going straight to the destination. Oh, what's over here? Something about this drew my eye. We got a boar that we could try fighting and catching. I'm not going to be good at it with the lag and not being used to these controls. But... okay, yeah, nothing too special. I think I'm just weird. I think that's why this caught my eye. Alright, well that's a little sad. So far, the path that I usually take, the very straightaway path, is a lot more interesting, which is good because I think it's what most people will naturally take rather than the road. But, you know, with the road, you'd kind of want it to be a little bit more engaged, you know? Yeah, okay, well, yeah, so basically it looks like if we're doing just the road, it looks like there's basically 2 camps. Well, that's a little bit sad. That is probably a mark against this... oh boy. We'll just do it the old-fashioned way. Okay, okay. So just 2 like the other one, like you went into a boss bokoblin, you know, you ran into like this very interesting like area where there was you know, like a singular bokoblin like gathering stuff at Lon Lon Ranch. You had like a cave, which is really, really cool. But I mean his stuff's cool too, right? Okay. Yeah, and it's just a straightaway, looking like. That's a little disappointing. Okay, well, at some point we are going to show off the line, like the specific line that leads to Lookout Landing, just with like the B line that you go, just the straightaway. We definitely are going to explore that when it comes time for us to, you know, cover the Hyrule Field Tower region in specific. But for now, let's just up in here. And yes, it is I. It is Link. It is I, Link, the hero of time, or hero of. What are we calling this Link? The hero of the wild. Hero of the wild probably sounds good. Yeah. Because, you know, you had the hero of time, the hero of the winds, the hero of light, I think, is the Twilight Princess one. I don't know what we call the Skyward Sword one, but it's like, you know, there's always a name for it, right? And let's go find Purah. Get the paraglider. And then try and get our way over to Hyrule Ridge. Do a little bit there, and then we can close out the stream.
What?
Nice, 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 nice.
Oh.
And this is the part where I'm supposed to go like hubba hana hubba. This is the part where we're supposed to go like humana humana awooga. Oh man, she's so hot. Look, it's Purah. She's hot. I mean she is hot though.
Okay. Now where have you been? Linky, you're not a ghost, are you?
Wait. Wait, I need to Google something real quick. I need to Google something because I've been rewatching Code Geass recently.
Phew. One step at a time. What exactly happened?
Oh god, no, you're kidding me. Alright, Kate Higgins. Kate Higgins. What is Kate Higgins famous for? Oh, don't tell me. Don't tell me I'm right. Don't tell me I'm right. Kate.
So when you and Princess Zelda go beneath
No.
Hyrule Castle, you discover a mysterious mummy.
Oh my god, it's C2. It's C2. Oh my god, it's literally C2.
Then Zelda
Ah!
That must have been when the castle rose.
I mean, she's doing the same voice too. She's just straight up doing C2 for Purah.
What?
Oh my god. Oh my god. That's sending me. That is sending me right now. Because like I hadn't watched Code Geass in so long when I first played Tears of the Kingdom, so I don't think I noticed, right? Oh my god, Rose recapture is so goddamn fun. I am so looking forward to episode 3, right? Because Code Geass, it's always like, oh, you know, first episode, you know, they follow, you know, like 4X story structure usually for the first 4 episodes of a season, and they usually like put things into these 4 episode blocks, right? Like they tend to do these 4 episode arcs, and you know, Rose Recapture is doing a similar thing, right? And they're doing the same thing as the first 4 episodes of seasons 1 and 2 of Code Geass, where it was like where it's like episode 1 origin story, episode 2, you know, like getting stuff done, episode 3 everyday life comedy hijinks. And so she, like, apparently Sakia like works in a maid cafe, and like Ash is gonna show up and get a crush on her. That's what I've seen from the trailers, at least. I don't know if that's true. That's gonna be wild. Big if true. Big if true. Okay, well, I should expect some lonely streams. That's fine. Not you know, people weren't exactly looking. Maybe I should announce my streams earlier. Maybe that's an issue. Hey, chat, let me know if announcing my stream earlier will make it more likely for people to show up. Chat? What do you think, chat? Chat, do you think that makes sense? Chat? 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 God damn it now. Imagine someone walks into the stream just then. That'd be absolutely ridiculous. All right, no. We're saving the shrines here for until I'm covering this part of the journey, right? We aren't covering Hyrule Field yet. We are covering, we're going to be covering Hyrule Ridge first. That is the first stop that we are going to be covering. So for now, we're just going to be going up here. So one thing that's good about these things is even if no one is showing up, because no one wants to watch me be autistic about Tears of the Kingdom, apparently. But, you know, even if that's the case, it is, it's going to be good because, you know, I'm going to be able to probably make some, like, Twitter videos, maybe some shorts out of it, which is going to be nice. I'm just, you know, it's so much more exhausting to talk for hours on end when there isn't a chat there to respond to. So I'm actually getting a little bit tired, but if somebody walks in, I want to be like, you know, I want to, you know, I want to be active for them. So I'm not really, all right, so options of things I could gush about. Right now, I guess I could gush about more of Tears of the Kingdom, but I want to save that for when we're actually on the stuff where we have to talk about that, like when we're actually in Hyrule Ridge. So for now, what do I want to talk about? Okay, I've decided. So this is just going to be a message that I'm probably going to try to, okay, let me start by trying to make it like something that can be broken up into a short. If you guys haven't watched Kami Arabi God app, you guys really need to do it. It is, so, you know, Future Diary? Imagine if Future Diary had good writing. Like, imagine for a moment if Mirai Nikki Future Diary wasn't written in crayon on a piece of toilet paper. That's God app. It's so good. It says trans rights. It is absolutely goddamn intense. Everyone gets a mysterious phone app that gives them a superpower. They are told that they have to fight to the death and that the person who wins will become God, but it's like kind of unclear if that's actually true. And it's just this really, really interesting character study where the protagonist is so overpowered he can instantly win any fight, but he has to permanently give something up and give himself incredibly bad luck in the future and ruin his life in order to do so. But also, he is not invested in winning, right? He is invested in not getting killed. And so it's this really, really weird thing where he... it's less about the drama of, oh, is he going to win the fight? It's more of a drama of, like, what winning means, right? And the philosophy behind everything. And if he even wants to win the fight, right? And it's just, it's so interesting. It's so well written. The protagonist is, Goro is such a mess. He's such a loser. And they do what I think is probably one of the best, romantic storylines between an idol and their fan that I've seen, because that's always like it's a popular concept, but it's an iffy concept, right? You know, some kind of stick the landing, like Dame Doll, others not so much. I think that God App does it well, and what they do is very, very interesting. Do I even want to spoil it? Okay, yeah, I'll totally spoil it. So Goro, right? Goro is the huge fan of, oh god, Ino, that's her name, Ino. She is, you know, she's this idol that he's, you know, absolutely loves, just adores her, is constantly fanboying over her, and he takes a recently made friend to a live show of hers during this one episode, where it was revealed that a year ago she actually got replaced. She committed suicide due to a stalker. And a fan who got the God App power, who has the ability of complete perfect mimicry, used it to mimic not only her appearance, but also her memories, in order to become a version of her that could continue to live out her dream. And that person prefers to live as Ino, and they now consider themselves to, you know, be Ino 2.0. And it's like almost kind of a trans narrative. But, you know, eventually... you know, like, Goro figures out about this, and they're like, you know, you probably don't love me, or, you know, you probably think I'm a fake now, and Goro drops the absolute most killer line that he could have said in this situation, which is, I mean, I've only been your fan for about a year. He doesn't care that this person was born male. He does not care that they are a fake Ino. He only cares that they are his Oshi, and he supports them, and they very obviously fell in love with him after this, and it's so good. The next, there's very little that happens in the series before, between that and like when all hell breaks loose and things just get sad, right? But the one thing that does happen, right, like with the two of them, where like there's like his like, oh, you got better party, where is Pura anyways? Oh, she's right here. For his get better party, Goro is gets this giant present, and the present turns out to just be Ino, and she's like, hello, and it's it's he immediately starts flipping out, and it's like they're about to like play like video games and be cute nerds together when the plot happens, which sucks, because characters being cute nerds for me is like one of like the biggest like things that gets my like shipper heart just absolutely ruined. But God, her and Goro were absolutely awesome, and I really hope that the story has a happy ending where they can be happy together. But I'm not convinced that there will be. We finished season 1 and it had a huge cliffhanger ending, and I'm not really sure what to make of it. But you know, I'm excited. I mean, it's such a good story. Like, it got so little attention, which is a crying shame, because it was so goddamn good. Speaking of like goddamn good stuff that I need to watch, I need to watch, speaking of goddamn good stuff that, you know, needs to be watched, I need to watch the new Spice and Wolf, right? I love the original, and it's like, you know, I'm not sure the dub is going to be quite as amazing this time around. I don't know that it won't be, right? But, like, you know, the dub was one of the most amazing things about Spice and Wolf, that it was handled so perfectly. And I want to see if it is handled as well in this situation. And now, you know, God, I really hope that they're making this. They made a 24-episode version, and I'm hoping they're doing this in hopes of continuing the story throughout, you know, beyond just the arc that we finished off in season 2 of the original anime run, right? I'm hoping that we just continue the entire series. I mean, like, speaking of, like, killer ships, man, Holo and Lawrence, oh my god. Those two are so cute together. I love their banter so much. They've got such good chemistry. Oh, I need to watch that. I need to just binge that, right? I'm also binging Code Geass with a friend. I think Clu, C2, and Lelouch from Code Geass are, like, without a doubt, like, just my #1 ship. Just... Oh, hello! Leo, hi! How long have you been there? I missed Leo! I missed someone! Somebody commented in YouTube chat and I missed them! No! 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 Come back! I'm sorry! I'm so bad at this streaming thing! No! Wait, 4 minutes? Wait, no, you are there? What? You don't show up. Okay, now you're here. Now you're here. God dang. Okay. It said 0 views, and I just assumed that had been there forever, and I missed you. How's it going, Leo? Hopefully this is something that you can understand. Ah! Oh, I'm so sorry, man. How's it going? Oh, hold on. What is... All right, there we go. So, Leo, let me explain a little bit about what we're doing here today. So I was, YouTube delay stream chats. Yeah, okay. Well, it was delaying viewer count is what it was. But one thing that, so I should probably explain what we're doing here. So it is Disability Awareness Month. I was talking to, well, I mean, I record these things, and so I was trying to say stuff that I could, like, make into shorts is basically what I was doing. But what we're doing here is, no, I mean, what you caught me in was just me, like, ranting to myself. But anyways, what we're doing in this stream here, we are going to be, I have this video that I want to make that's probably only going to be happening in like 2025, 2026. But I really have wanted to make for a long time a video that is just ranking all of the tower regions in Tears of the Kingdom. And before this, I wanted to do this for Breath of the Wild, ranking them all from best to worst, or worst to best, I guess, like top 15, right? There's 15 of them. And I'll start with the worst, go with the, and like I'll rank them on everything in the region. I'll rank them on the quality of the shrines, on the quality of the Korok Seed puzzles, on the quality of the overworld and how, like, well they handled it in the new version, the quality of the depth, the quality of the Sky Islands, the quality of the quests. Yeah, oh yeah, no, it's Disability Month, so I'm being super autistic. So so I am going to be going through each of the tower regions one by one and just doing literally everything in them. I'm going to be starting, not with this tower region, because I feel like this tower region is best saved for a little bit later. And instead, I'm going to be starting with the Hyrule Ridge region. And we are about to head on over there right after we just got the paraglider. And we are about to go into the sky, which we can then use to fly on over to the first tower region that we're going to be a part of. Woo! I always love going at these things. Okay, yeah, I'm so ready. I'm gonna go take a look at the interactive map real quick. Make sure that I know about. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah. No. I got it. Nice. All right, yeah. So this is definitely one of. I mean, you know, all of them are one of the regions of all time, but we're going to be heading over to Hyrule Ridge, which, you know, we're looking at right here. Fun little thing about this area of the game. It is actually the very first area that I explored after going off of the Great Plateau in the original Breath of the Wild. So I have a very, very, you know, I've got fond memories of the place. A lot of sentimental, to the point it loses significance. What were you referring to? Are you talking about like the degree to which I am going to be going into detail on these things, or? Nah. Yeah, we are. So one of the things that they were doing when they transitioned from classic Zelda to the Breath of the Wild style is that they wait. One of the things they had to do is that they had to transition into a new type of game while maintaining a lot of the imagery of the original Legend of Zelda games, right? And so naturally, they are going to have Hyrule Field specifically, and it is going to be the center of the map. And there's an interesting quirk in that. Because Hyrule Field... YouTube censors check your stream, maybe? Let me check. Huh. I know, I mean, it's just the two of us. But don't worry about it. Hyrule Field had a very specific mechanical purpose within the original Legend of Zelda games. It wasn't just like an area that they put in because, like, you know, they thought it was neat. It had a role, and that role was to be a hub area. In the original Ocarina of Time, it was the thing that connected all of the different areas. It connected Kokiri Forest, Hyrule Castle, the Zora's Domain, Gerudo Desert. All of these areas were, you know, fundamentally connected by Hyrule Field. And the purpose of, you know, like, Epona and like horseback riding was largely to speed up the process of going from place to place. It felt good, you know, that you were able to go through the hub area at an increased speed. But, you know, there's a little bit of an issue with that when you think about Breath of the Wild in specific. First of all, it doesn't really have that kind of like wheel and spokes level design. I mean, there's definitely a center of the map, and just like by nature of geometry, the center of the map is, you know, gives you access to every other area. But, you know, there was like a degree to which every area didn't lead into one another in previous games. Right? Like, Kokiri, like, you know, if you wanted to go to another area, you went to Hyrule Field, and that's not really a limitation that you have in Tears of the Kingdom, in Breath of the Wild. And on top of that, in the original Breath of the Wild, there was the issue of, you know... Okay, hold on. I was saying that because of the or chat, it was a continuation of a past chat. Gotcha. And I lost my train of thought. And you know, like the other issue is that, in Breath of the Wild specifically, there was another thing that Hyrule Field was being used for. It was being used as the path to the final battle, right? It was being the place that you went to get to Hyrule Castle, to get to Ganondorf. I am not equipped to fight this thing. I think I'm just gonna run. I don't have the arrows, any fucking arrows to fight this thing. You know, so the whole thing, you know, the early game areas of Hyrule Field, you know, I mean, that was pretty easy to traverse. But Hyrule Field, as you got further and further north, closer and closer to Hyrule Castle, rather than it continuing to be this beginner-friendly area that was incredibly just, you know, friendly to newcomers, it became actively hostile, intentionally hostile. It was no longer this hub through which you reached everything else. It was the final frontier, the final area. And so the physicality of the area, the fact that it was this flat thing you were meant to go on in horseback and easily access any of the edges, you know, that no longer has a direct connection to its purpose within the structure of the game. I thought this was a puzzle game. Would you not be able to throw them off the bridge? I mean, you could probably trick the Hinox into going off the bridge, but I mean, I don't know. And so you have this kind of issue that you do kind of need these hub areas that like help you get to the other areas, that let you transition gradually into the desert area and into the mountain area and into the, you know, the area with the river and into the fire area. You still need that to a certain degree. On the east side, you just kind of have this stretch of land that connects across multiple different tower regions, going along the eastern side of a river. You know, right next to the Dueling Peaks, right next to, you know, going up through the linear wetlands, that kind of thing. But in Tears of... But, no, sorry, not in the Tears of the Kingdom. In Breath of the Wild, on the west side, you have a bit of a different story. You had an entire tower region dedicated to being that. Being almost like a miniature Hyrule Field in the way that it was understood back in, you know, games like Ocarina of Time. I'm not much of a Nintendo fan, so I just Zelda games as at most generic open world games. I literally cannot see the differences between this and a Ubisoft game. Yeah, I mean, there are, I mean, a lot of differences. I mean, I haven't played an Ubisoft game. Clearly, you know, I'm sure it's a lot of the details. This one's, you know, a lot of an immersive sim. And there's very, very well-designed systems. Like, there's things where you can just, like, build your own robots. There's very, I mean, like, I'm not here to... In order to compare and contrast them, I'd have to have played Assassin's Creed, right? Like, there are definitely similarities. It is definitely in a similar genre. Though Zelda games used to be occupying a very, very different niche, Leo. I'm not sure if you've played, like, Ocarina of Time or anything like that, but those games were very, very different. They were open world to a certain extent. They encouraged exploration and all that stuff, but, like, they weren't an open world game. They were games connected by a hub world, right? And that hub world had a lot to do and to explore, but it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like a capital O open world game. It's a little hard to explain. Like, it just, like, was a Zelda game. Like, people would, like Okami came out. It's like, oh yeah, it's basically structured like a Zelda game. And then Breath of the Wild came around, and it was one of the best takes on the open world genre. And it did inherit a lot of stuff from Zelda games. The heavy puzzle emphasis came from you know, old Zelda games, there is this very distinct conception of items that got turned into the rune system of the original Breath of the Wild, which is now the, like whatever you'd call what I'm doing right here. You know, I've got Ultra Hand, which lets me pick stuff up. I've got, you know, Recall, which lets me rewind objects. I've got Ascend, which lets me, like, move up through things. And I've got Fuse, which lets me augment whatever arrows, shields, or weapons I'm carrying. And that comes from... So Zelda games are RPGs with open world mechanic. I mean, they're not really RPGs unless you count the second game, which can play completely different from everything else. In the original Zelda games, there were... the goal was usually to complete these 8 dungeons, right? And, you know, those dungeons are usually heavy on, like, these things of, like, puzzles and combat encounters ending in a boss that you had to go through in a more or less specified order, and figuring out the order in which you're supposed to do things is part of the puzzle. You know, like, a little bit adventure game, a little bit puzzle game, a little bit, you know, hack and slash, right? And the dungeons were connected by an overworld. It wasn't really an open world. It wasn't heavily focused on exploring whatever you want. Usually, it was pretty fragmented, and you could only go into specific places at any given time. A lot of it was locked off until you got to certain parts of the story, which then opened new parts up, which would have another story segment that then unlocked the dungeon of that area. And that is largely how Nintendo games played for a while, right? You know, that's like Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword. Yeah, a little bit. And it really worked in practice. The original Zelda game was, like, kind of the original open world game, in a lot of ways. Because it really, while it still had that, like, you gotta beat all of the dungeons vibe, it did have a truly open world, and Breath of the Wild was kind of a return to that. Breath of the Wild inherited a lot of, like, smaller ideas from the from Zelda games. It inherited the concept of, you know, items, like, you know, like you would get bombs at a certain point, and that was a new aspect of your moveset, but also unlocked new doors. Sometimes literally. It took a lot from the world. There are combat mechanics, you know, like you know, the sword play and bow and arrow stuff. You know, heavily inspired by how it was handled in previous games. There's kind of like a bullet time, like Bayonetta-ass, like, you know, like if you, like, dodge, you get to go slow-mo. That wasn't in old games, but, you know, they always mix up, you know, the combat between the games, even if there is, you know, a lot of similarity between some of them. You know, and there's, like, a lot of small things that they kept. You know, they kept a lot of the emphasis on puzzle solving. They kept a very similar, you know... they took a lot of the areas and tried to convert them into open world areas, and a lot of design philosophy carried over, but a lot didn't. Breath of the Wild was, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like its own thing. It was, in a lot of ways, just another open world game. But as an open world game, it did a lot of interesting stuff. One of the big things that, like, really makes it what it is, what made Breath of the Wild and then Tears of the Kingdom what they were, is the climbing, right? Like, intense freedom to just climb up basically any surface in the game. And, well, okay, well, there was, like, angular shit going on there. And just, and in Tears of the Kingdom, one of the things that makes Tears of the Kingdom especially interesting is that there's this trichotomy between the Sky Islands in the sky. Like, you can see some over there. There's one right there. There's, are those just clouds or something? I don't know. But there's a bunch in that storm cloud over there. You know, these are these islands in the sky, and you need to go up into the sky and go to them, and there's stuff up there. And then there's the depths, which are this, like, complete mirror of the overworld, but with the y-axis inverted down below, and, like, everything's, like, gloomy and dark and filled with poison. And that has a very different gameplay style down there. You know, you can't heal except with very specific items that you can only find in the sky. And, you know, everything's dark, and you need to illuminate it with stuff that you find in caves on the overworld. But there are things in the depth which are useful in the overworld and in the sky, and they all have this very interesting relationship between them. And so that is, and there's this very, I mean, there's so many different aspects to the economy and to the different areas within them that all just comes together so well. But for now, I want to start talking a little bit about Hyrule Ridge and about this as an area. Oh, is this Nintendo fan bias? Because after seeing the latest Pokemon copy and paste games, I would not believe a company such as Nintendo would ever create a game deserving of such praise. So Nintendo isn't a monolith, I should say. Like, Nintendo publishes Pokemon. Pokemon is developed by Game Freak. And Nintendo, a big reason that Pokemon games tend to be very rushed is because there is a very, very quick turnaround on, you know, a new Pokemon generation needs to come out every 3 to 4 years, and the reason for this is because Pokemon is not just a game franchise. Like, it needs to happen, I say, but like the reason there is an incentive to get them out that is very, very pressing and very, very motivating. The reason that they get these ultimatums to get games out quicker rather than, you know, focus on giving each one the time that they deserve is because Pokemon games are what introduce a new Pokemon generation. And with each Pokemon generation becomes new Pokemon cards, new Pokemon merch, and all of this stuff. Pokemon is one of the biggest franchises of all time, and while the games are the center of it, they are hardly the most profitable aspect of it, and they are ultimately not the motivating force, you know, determining how the games get made and on what timeline they get made. So there is this incredibly rushed nature to a lot of Pokemon games. Pokemon games are, like I said, are made by Game Freak, which is a studio that I believe is a subsidiary of Nintendo. Zelda games are made by Zelda Team, I believe, which is an internal team at Nintendo. It's not a separate company or a subsidiary. It is like one of the main in-house teams. It is led by Aonuma, he did not create the Zelda series. The Zelda series was created by Miyamoto. But Aonuma is basically the brains behind the scenes of, like, the ongoing development. He's at least been there since Ocarina of Time. I think it might have been the head of A Link to the Past too, which is the third Zelda game, right? So like the Zelda had its first ever game. Then it had a second game, which was also on the NES, which was a completely different gameplay style and not that good. Then you had A Link to the Past, which sort of solidified the common understanding of what a Zelda game was. It had a, I see, so Nintendo publishes the game and gets the praise of the actual developers. Well, I mean, kind of? I mean, like, it's not a secret that it is created by Game Freak, and Game Freak is kind of part of Nintendo, so when you're talking about Nintendo, you are, with the context of Pokemon, you are talking about the parts of Nintendo that make Pokemon, but that is different from, like, the parts of Nintendo that make Zelda games. When it is just a fully outside, like, you know, we know, like, who makes these games. Like, when talking about Xenoblade games, those exclusively get published by Nintendo, but we know that Monolith Software are the people who make the Xenoblade games. Right? But anyways, as I was saying, right, then they made, Aonuma, like, he does a good job of, like, never really resting on his laurels and, like, constantly trying new things. Like, after making A Link to the Past, and then, like, there's Link's Awakening, which was just, like, the GBA game, Game Boy, it wasn't GBA, it was just the original Game Boy. But then they made Ocarina of Time, which was the first 3D game, and then Majora's Mask, which was a, weird, esoteric, Groundhog Day loop art house game that was, like, made in a year using Ocarina of Time's assets. It's one of the greatest achievements of humanity. And then Capcom made 2 spin-off games that very, very closely stayed to the formula that A Link to the Past and Link's Awakening and Ocarina of Time set forth. Then they made The Wind Waker, which was kind of following the Ocarina of Time model. It was another 3D Zelda game, but it had a huge emphasis on pseudo-open world exploration with a vast ocean, most of which had nothing to do with the main plot of the story that could be, after a certain point, explored at your leisure. It wasn't quite an open world game as we understand it today, but it was very, very similar. And it was sort of a callback to the original game in that way. And also, like, the game, like, the plot of Twilight Princess was some, it was some, like, Last Jedi, like, let the past die stuff, trying to move on from previous understandings of, you know, what a Zelda game was, and even, like, satirized the concept of the damsel in distress, where the Zelda of this game was, like, by bloodline, a princess, and was in the line of people who always named their princesses Zelda for some reason, but she didn't grow up as a princess, so she calls herself Tetra, and she grew up as, like, and she lives as, like, a goddamn pirate, and there's a thing in the final battle where she literally steals the light arrows out of your inventory to help you fight Ganondorf. And then this got wound up, like, getting wrapped up into the conception of what a Zelda game is. And now, when a B team, other than, like, Aonuma's team, handles a Zelda game, Zelda, the character, is directly associated with the light arrows, and it's a very common theme for her to directly help you in the final battle. This happened in Spirit Tracks, it happened in Twilight Princess, which was the next game that Aonuma made, which was genuinely just another Zelda game. It's one of the only times he made something that was just another Zelda game. After which they made Skyward Sword, which completely revamped a lot of the stuff about the way that they did it, and then they made Breath of the Wild, which was completely revamped a lot of the stuff of the way that they did it. And so, you know, you have this guy, Aonuma, who's constantly trying to push what a Zelda game is, what it can be, what it means to be one. And you have this, you know, aspect of constantly trying to reincorporate the smaller details and, like, the more emotional aspects of previous games, like the concept of Zelda helping you in the final battle, or a lot of the aspects of the heroic ethos of Link. And even if you change gameplay styles, you keep a lot of those things. Something I was talking to myself about earlier is that Breath of the Wild was actually kind of a little bit flawed in the way that it tried to reincorporate old ideas of old Zelda games. And one of the things that was really, really, really cool about Tears of the Kingdom is that it did a lot better, right? They did a better job of making Link feel like the same type of hero he was in older games. There was a more of a focus on his heroic narrative rather than, like, this weird, you know, like, plot that had nothing to do with Link that was the main focus of the story. It was like Zelda learning to believe in herself. And, you know, there is a lot more of the linear level design thanks to the caves that were introduced. And yeah, I'm getting off topic. I am literally avoiding doing gameplay stuff because I want to take time to explain Hyrule Ridge. Okay, so Hyrule Ridge, right? I explained a while ago that Hyrule Field as a concept kind of failed within Breath of the Wild, or at least it couldn't be what it was in old games. And so they wanted to create something that was similar and that had a similar vibe to Hyrule Field. And so they wound up creating Hyrule Ridge. It has a similar color palette, though a little bit duller, more reminiscent of old games in their Hyrule Fields, actually. It is a little bit to the west. It is raised, and so you can always look down and see the rest of Hyrule Field if you go off to the edge. And then it is meant to be this place that you can explore freely on horseback specifically. And, like, right here, we're about to get a horse. This is a part of the game where you're supposed to get a horse. And it is a place that can take you to a variety of different locations. Heading north, you can go into Tabantha Snowfield. You can head to the Tabantha Frontier over to the west. You can head down through... well, yeah, you can, like, head down through here and make your way to Hyrule Field, or you can, you know, do it over here. And you can go upwards towards the Hyrule Forest area or into the Deplean Badlands, which is an area that Breath of the Wild introduced and is one of the best things the game did for the series. And so you have this kind of like wheel and spokes thing, heading off in any direction. You can go to all of these different important areas. Though there is this interesting. It's designed very differently. As you could see earlier, Hyrule Field, it's just an open field. Hyrule Ridge is more of a patchwork of areas with different vibes to them, but no walls between them. So you have sort of a field-like area here, heading heading up through the north. Head down, and you're going to well, you get to the Breach of Demise, which is this very interesting ravine area. You have Lindor's Brow, which is this kind of like U-shaped mountainous area. You have the Sarah Scablands, which is this interesting area with these weird mushroom trees. You have this bog area that I'm forgetting the name of, the Thundra Plateau, which just is this, marshy area, and all of it you're supposed to go seamlessly between these areas on your horse. Now let me see what Leo said. If it's centered around Link, why is it called Zelda? Okay. So the reason it is called The Legend of Zelda is because when they made the original game, they didn't know there was going to be a sequel. Link was literally named Link because he was your link to the game. He was genuinely just a person to be saving Zelda, whom the story was broadly about. Like, the story. It's about how, I forget the exact details, but, like, she was kidnapped, and, like, she had important stuff that she was supposed to be doing, but she couldn't do it because she got kidnapped by Ganon, who was, like, a pig monster in the original game. And it's like, oh, you're there to save Zelda so that you can save the world with Zelda. And that is, the Legend of Zelda. It was you as Link going on a story that was about Zelda. As things went on, Link became more and more of an important part of the stories, with Link, it being a different Link in each one. They eventually explained why Link kept reappearing. But yeah. That's why it's called The Legend of Zelda. It's just because that's the name of the series. Anywho. As I was saying. Hyrule Ridge. So, there is actually an interesting thing here. So, we're looking at the borders of the tower regions. There is one border that goes through here. This part down here is also part of Hyrule Ridge, but it's not part of the same tower region as the rest of Hyrule Ridge. Originally, it was like you didn't have this part over here in the tower region, and it just kind of like went like this, right? That's what it was like in Breath of the Wild, which had different borders around the tower regions. And that's because the main way that you're supposed to access this area is through this small area over here, which is kind of its own little cul-de-sac. However, that is, not the case here. And so this is now more associated with South Hyrule Field. That's the tower region that they made it a part of. And so I really love Hyrule Ridge. One of the reasons that I kind of like it, it carries a lot of the same vibe and magic as Hyrule Field in the original Ocarina of Time, and in Twilight Princess, where, you'd be going through it, and then you get to these parts where they're kind of like, it's like, oh yeah, it's hard to explain, but you have areas like Lindor's Brow and the Thundra Plateau, which are these like little things that you stumble into that feel like significant. And a lot of it has this kind of like rough, rocky terrain that really reminds me of like the area near Gerudo Valley in the original Ocarina of Time. And I just think this is a really delightful area. And I think it does its job really, really well. One thing that I think is interesting is the way that they changed its role in Tears of the Kingdom. I explained what its role was in Breath of the Wild, but in Tears of the Kingdom, it actually played a little bit of a different role. It served a different purpose, because every area has to serve a different purpose in Tears of the Kingdom on account of the fact that it's a different game with a different progression that is expecting different things of you. Here, they're using it as a tutorial area. In Breath of the Wild, there were two tutorial areas. The first was the Great Plateau, which was right here. And the second was Neclata, which was here. You go on the Great Plateau, and you're not allowed to leave until you finish the tutorial. And then you go off, and then your first story quest is in this area called Neclida. And it is this little valley between two mountain ranges. And it is confined, but like it doesn't, you're not prevented from leaving its confines, but it does funnel you naturally. It's got a lot of NPCs to talk to who explain a lot of the story that you might be missing out on. It explains a lot of stuff like how to catch horses. It's fairly easy. It's difficult to get lost. And there's a lot of neat little quests that get you up on your feet. They clearly can't just redo that here. So they're actually reincorporating Hyrule Ridge as your new tutorial area. What you're expected to do is go on here through this bridge, where you go here, and this is creates this little I call it like a questing area, places that are like high density in content. And there are tutorials on catching horses. There's a tutorial on this thing called a geoglyph, which is it's important to the story of the game, so it's important to know what these things are and how to interact with them. You know, it teaches you about horse catching, and it's a place designed to ride a horse around in, and it is kind of genuinely not just evoking the ideas of Hyrule Field, but serving a very similar purpose. You know, you exit the initial tutorial area, walk into Hyrule Field, and now there are a number of places that you could be expected to go. There really are no wrong answers for the next place to go, because two of the different areas that you could go into, the Tabantha Snowfield and the Tabantha Frontier, which are, you know, up here and down here respectively, both eventually funnel you right here into Rito Village, which is where the next plot point that you're supposed to be focusing on is. But if you go up north into the Deplean Badlands, that is the first step to doing the Korok Forest questline, which is something that you actually get prompted to follow up while you are on your way to the tower of this region up there. I'm just going to start heading over there. And so there really are no wrong answers. And if anything, it's a better version of Hyrule Field on a mechanical level, because there are no wrong answers of where you're supposed to go. In Ocarina of Time, there was a singular place that you were heading to. It was towards Hyrule Castle. In Twilight Princess, there was the singular place you were heading to. It was the first Twilight area. You're supposed to head straight into the Eldin region. But here, you have this Hyrule Field-esque area, and, like, you know, it's not the same. You don't have, like, the bright, cheerful music. You don't have as expansive of an area. It doesn't capture the imagination in the way that the same Hyrule Field does, as it just goes infinitely on in every direction, which is kind of what you're introduced to when you first step down. But it does fit that mechanical role. And because this whole area was kind of meant to evoke that feeling and kind of being Hyrule Field without being Hyrule Field, it's really, really cool that in this game they are able to use it as a Hyrule Field. And I just think that that's a really, really awesome thing that they were able to do with this version of the game. The place that we're heading up to is Lindor's Brow. It's one of those areas I was talking about in the patchwork, and when we're up there, we're going to be able to get a better look at what Hyrule Ridge looks like what I mean by a patchwork design. But first, we need to go up here and do Hestu's quest. So, he's scared of these trees. I wonder why he's... Oh, no! Now I'm scared of the trees! So this is a glorified tutorial area. It is an area used for many things, tutorials included. There is a lot to do here, far more than just tutorials, but it is sort of a starting area. It is a place to help you get your bearings. There is more to this tower region than just the area that is meant to be a tutorial, but yeah, it is meant to be a place for first-time players to get their bearings, get used to things. I only have one Corksy to give this guy. But I think that it's really cool that they use this in a way that works perfectly for the game itself, while also, you know, being an homage to previous games. And, you know, when you can combine those things, that's when this starts to feel a bit more like a Zelda game, you know? There is a particular area of Hyrule Ridge that I think works especially well for this. It's the area just north of this. I believe it's literally called like North Hyrule Plain. And it is an area. There's actually very few collectibles. It's really just like a playground, full of a bunch of It's basically just a playground filled to the brim with like enemy camps for you to ride your horse between and then just like fight them. it's really, really great. I think I'm going to get this tower, and then we're probably going to be done for the day. I really appreciate you coming in here, Leo, keeping me company. You got any more questions? All right, rain's clearing up, and we get to do this big ol' all right, I don't actually have anything to cheese this, so I am actually going to have to do intended strats for this little puzzle here. Intended strats being making a really, really long-ass plank, and then he's... God, this game. Yes. Let's get to building this. Oh, God. There we go. Right here. I'd like to see you do this in a classic use of God fucking damn it. All right. So do you think I wonder if 4 is just gonna be enough? I'm gonna try it with just like 4 of these big ones and then see if that's enough to get us over. That was not the most efficient way I could have rotated that. All right. Let's do it. Yeah! Yeah! All right, let's go! Woo! No! Okay. I just need to position it better. There we go. Now I can climb up, get the tower, and then we can turn it in for the day. Yeah. Oh, I always love these moments. Ah. Up into the sky. And here you can see all the sky islands, right? Ah, no, man, I'm getting tired. I've been doing this for 2 straight hours, which is not very long, but also it's very late at night. Or not that late, but I'm also just a tired, sleepy boy. I'm EP. I'm an EP boy. I need my rest. I need my beauty sleep so I can grow big and strong. So, all right. is what I mean by the patchwork design. So up here we have, you know, this like North Hyrule Plains area. This is the area we were just in. This is like this whole thing that's like really, really, really good for just riding your horse around. Then either by going down through the Breach of Mine or up through this area, we can get to Ludfo's Bog, which has the Thunder Plateau on it, which is what this is. And it's this kind of like marshy area, but it's also, you know, flat, so you can, you know, ride your horse along it. You got the Sarah Scablands, which is sort of a similar marshy terrain, but, you know, a little drier. And then you have, like, sort of plains area down here. And they all easily blend into one another. All connected by Lindor's Brow, which is this sort of mountainous area encapsulating everything. Huh, did you install something to... I think YouTube hates... I think YouTube hates you. I'm so sorry. Last thing I saw you say was, so this is a glorified tutorial area. Oh god, I'm really sorry you've been saying stuff. I mean, if you're saying stuff, I want to hear it. Trust me. But yeah, I'm not sure I heard it. Was there something that you're saying, Leo? Yay! All right, let's see. All right, well, heroes, or I guess just singular hero. I really, really appreciate, you know, everyone. I really praise the one who came out here today. It was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed this. And I can't wait to do more of these streams because I love Tears of the Kingdom and I love talking about it. I'm going to be signing off here real quick. But I just want to say that I love you guys and I love you, Guy. All right, I'm just going to stop streaming. See you, Leo.